Hey everybody, it's Joy. Today we are doing something totally different, although not different from what the rest of the community is doing right now, and what I've seen other creators doing right now is let's just have a chat video. So I've got clips of some of my builds in the background that I'm very proud of, that I love, and so you can enjoy those while we just have a chat. If you haven't, there is a link to a podcast below in the description that I did with Flyvox and the rest of Skyline 6, minus Jukaboa because he's out at sea. If you don't know who I am or the Skyline 6 are, we are a group of creators that came together. We run a co-Discord together because as creators, it makes it easier to do that together and to support each other. And then we also do a lot of collabs together. So I'll leave the link for the podcast that we did together talking about our expectations around Cities Skylines 2 that we just did a few days ago. And also I'll leave a link to our Discord if you want to come join us in there, hang out with us. We have a really fun little community. But the thing that I wanted to do today is just kind of communicate with my audience where I am with things, and just kind of, for those of you that do know, I took a 3-month break and I haven't really talked about why I took a break and just kind of how I'm feeling about things now that I'm back. So we're just gonna have a casual conversation. And if this isn't for you, that's okay. But it just felt important to me, as I feel like more people in the community are just really expressing how they are feeling in this current moment. So I wanted to do the same. The thing that I will say is I think there are already a good handful of videos out there covering the clear lack of and breakdown of communication that happened while I was on break. I didn't see all that transpire, so I just came back and I've had to catch up, and so I'm kind of seeing everything after the fact through some of these videos, which I'm really appreciative of. And thank you for those of you who have been kind of covering that, because then I was able to come back and, watch videos and just kind of get caught up with what happened with the community from a communication standpoint. My point is to say that's not what this video is going to be about. I feel like that's already well covered within the community. The other thing, I think there are a handful of videos out there that are really well done and done respectfully and with thoughtful consideration for feedback on the game, for what we all can see are obvious obvious holes and gaps and issues. And I feel like other creators have already really said those things clearly and communicated that. And so I also feel like I don't need to pile on and rehash all of those things, although I will talk about a few things that are really important to me as the way that I create. But mostly I want this video to be really positive. And the thing that I realized the other day, just kind of coming back from my break, which we'll talk about why I left, is that I'm obsessed with Cities Skylines 1. I'm not bored with this game. I'm not tired of this game. I am obsessed with this game now just as much as when I first saw it on YouTube before I even owned it. I feel like I already have the perfect city builder. For the way that I like to play and the style and the things that I like to create, I already have everything I could ever want and more. And there are the amount of DLCs that this game has, the amount of custom assets, the mods that make the game even more enjoyable, it's all there. And the thing for me that's just so enjoyable is that there's not going to be any more updates or patches. And as a content creator, that was always such an anxiety-ridden time. It was always so stressful because you didn't know what was going to break on your game, and you're trying to make content, and it was always exciting, but also stressful. And I think about to those times, and that's kind of what lies ahead for Cities Skylines 2. And I know that's inevitable, but like, I already have the game that I want and the game that I want to create in already. So for me, I just want to keep playing Cities Skylines 1, and I hope for those of you on my channel, you're here for that and you're okay with that. And that doesn't mean I'll never play Cities Skylines 2. I might. At this time though, it just, to me personally, the game doesn't feel joyful. The colors are very bland. Everyone's cities are starting to look exactly the same, and it just doesn't have the whimsy and the bright and colorfulness that I like to escape to when I play Cities Skylines. So I think now is a good time to transition to my 3-month break, which I didn't know at the time it was going to be a 3-month break. I had early access to Cities Skylines 2, which I am so grateful for, and that was such an amazing, fun experience to be a part of, and I wouldn't take any of that back, even though it was extremely stressful. Part of that was just the pressure I was putting on myself to make something great, and also it was just, there was a lot of issues with the game too, and things that we weren't allowed to talk about, and so that also made things feel strange and stressful as well, and kind of uncomfortable. So the reason that I took a break was that at the time I had made my first video. Actually, I should back up a little bit. So when I first got early access, I just couldn't play the game like from my skill set. So Cities Skylines 1 is the first video game I've ever played. If you've been here a long time, you've heard me say that 1,000 times. You're like, okay, Joy, we get it. But like, for those of you who might just be popping in, like, with Cities Skylines 2, because of my issues with anxiety and other things, like, it takes me a long time to learn new things, and I do struggle with that personally. And so when I got the game, it was just extremely overwhelming, and it took me a while to feel like, okay, maybe I could actually play this. So it when I first got early access, it wasn't like, boom, so exciting. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to learn all these new things. And there were things that were familiar, as some of you, I'm sure, who have played Cities Skylines 2, some things felt very familiar and some things felt very different. And it was just a rough adjustment for me personally. But once I got over that, and I decided that I would make my Super Blocks video, because the original Super Blocks video on my channel was the most popular video I've done, and I thought, well, that would make sense to just like redo my most popular video, but in Cities Skylines 2. And I love urban planning concepts. I love making cities for people. That's like my whole thing, is walkability and the whole 15-minute city concept. And so I love the idea of, you know, utilizing urban planning concepts outside of like detailing. Those two things make me like extremely happy with the game, with playing Cities Skylines 1. So I thought that would make the most sense, and I thought then I could kind of make that as like the base of the 3 videos we were being allowed to do. So once I got into the groove, I did my first video. I was so happy with how it was turned out. I was so proud of the editing, and I really was excited about the game at that point. And then I went and created my second video, still had a very high excitement, had some frustrations with the weather at that time because of the map I chose. I wasn't really prepared for the impact that seasons would have, and my city had snow for forever. for almost half the year. And as you know, with the simulation speed, I was just trying to get out of the snow to get to the other side to record my second video. And also, like, the game, you know, wasn't running like as well as it is now. And so also I was just concerned about my computer and like just leaving it running. And so it was just also took a lot more time and effort to make that video outside of like actually building what I wanted to build and filming it and doing the voice and selecting the music and the thumbnail and all that. Like on top of it, I was waiting for the game to get to a point where I could actually film not in the snow, because that wasn't the style of video I was creating, was not a winter, you know, thing. I was filming a very walkable city. I wanted to see everyone walking around. And anyways, I'm rambling. This is going to be unedited, guys, so hang with me. So my second video, I was really happy with how it turned out. And I think it was nice to do the concept that I went with, which was like, let me build 2 neighborhoods, because I loved that the American low density in their first like level looked like fancy trailer parks. So I was like, great, I will make a trailer park on one part of the map, and then I'll make like a pedestrianized high density, like no car area, and just like do the dueling neighborhood thing. And I really liked how that turned out. I think it was really cool. I think that's the point I started to realize that like, oh, we can't make these buildings historical, so I can't actually like keep this look. So I had to make sure I filmed at a certain time so that I would catch the buildings where I wanted them, which also was a frustration point just from a creator standpoint. But that all went well. It was very exciting. You know, it was really exciting to have that time period. We were watching everyone else's videos and seeing what everyone else was building. And, you know, there was a large amount of optimism with all of us creators, because we knew that we were playing, you know, on not a completed thing. Now, I don't know a lot about gaming, so I think other creators probably had more of an inkling that things wouldn't be fixed in a certain period of time. I'm very naive with these things. I don't know anything about gaming. I just assumed that like, oh, all these little things will be taken care of. Now I've educated myself thanks to all these wonderful videos that people have put out since I was on my break. So I feel a little bit more educated on the gaming side. Anyways, back to my point. So when it came to sitting down to make my third video, again, I had the snow issue. So that was very frustrating, but I knew that I would have the snow issue, so I anticipated that. So I'd kind of like factored that in. And then my city started to completely break down and things weren't working right. There was a lot of bugs and I couldn't get the style of buildings to grow in that I wanted for the next video in that series that I was planning. And so no matter what I did or bulldozed or rebuilt or whatever, I just couldn't get what I wanted that third video to be. And it just became a point of anxiety and stress and disappointment and frustration. And I literally ended up in tears, and I just had this moment where like, this is supposed to be fun and this is not fun anymore. And like, I just need to take a break, because as much as this is an amazing opportunity to have to make these 3 videos early access, and like the game is going to be amazing because we were just coming on that hype train, and like I just felt really disappointed with myself that I couldn't figure out how to work the game. And at that time, I really internalized a lot of that for my lack of knowledge around video games. I really just kind of had this like, well, I just can't figure it out. And I saw other people building stuff and doing things, and I thought, well, my skill level just isn't there, which partly might have been part of it, you know what I mean? So I just felt really, I don't know, I got really depressed. I got really sad, and I just like, it triggered my anxiety, and I just also felt like, here's this game that's going to come out and I can't even play it. Like, should I even have a channel anymore? Because like, if I can't figure this out, then what am I doing, right? And it was just kind of a lot of that internal noise dialogue as sometimes we listen to that we shouldn't. So then I just thought, I'm going to take a break until I feel inspired to come back and play. And I didn't know how that long that was going to be, and it ended up being 3 months. I didn't expect it to be that long, and honestly, I shut off Discord. I didn't go onto my YouTube channel. So many of you left comments that when I came back, I replied to all of them. Thank you so much. But I had to just kind of turn that all off and really take a break. So I didn't see any of the thing that was going on with the community at that time. I wasn't keeping up with anything on Discord, and I didn't know what was going on. And it wasn't until, about 3 months later where I was like, I not only really miss all of my friends in Discord and all the amazing creators that I've been able to connect with over the time period, I started to actually miss playing Cities Skylines 1. And I really was also just excited to see what Cities Skylines 2 looked like, because it had been, about 3 months, and I was just excited to see what the game was like now, and see what had been fixed, and it's probably, but anyways, I was just also feeling ready. So I came back, and here we are today. We all know where we are today. We all know what's going on, and we all know where the game is, and all of that. So I just kind of wanted to catch you guys up with my break, why I took my break, and all of that. And for full transparency, when one thing happens, 2 other things happen. And so in my personal life, 2 other things did happen during my break that probably extended my break a little bit longer. They say things happen in threes. So to be fair, there were some other stuff going on. But additionally, if I had felt really excited and passionate, I probably would have been able to make some time to do something during that time frame. Anyways, moving on to now. So I have come back, and I've just been doing live streams. I kind of want to explain why I'm doing that, because most of you are used to my content, are like my fun edited videos and music and that kind of style. However, there are the 2 other things that were going on in my personal life are still kind of going on, so my time is limited, but I do have some time, and I do miss playing Cities Skylines 1, so I decided to get over my fear of live streaming, because I had a huge fear of live streaming. So I just decided time to figure that out, get over it, let my friends teach me how to use OBS, and just get on with it. So I did. So I appreciate those of you that have been watching my little live streams. I'm keeping them to an hour so that you can watch them back really easily, hopefully. And so I'm doing just a few a week for right now. I do have some edited videos that I am working on, but because of my lack of time, I'm thinking I'm probably only going to be able to put out 1 edited video a month right now, and I'm hoping that will change in May. So that's where we are right now with that. So on to a little bit of my thoughts around Cities Skylines 2, and the fact of from my perspective and the way that I like to play, the things that I would want to see in order to get excited about actually playing the game, is someone who is deeply inspired by urban planning concepts, by walkability, by I play Cities Skylines to make the world as I wish it was. I don't play Cities Skylines to play in reality. I live in reality, and that sucks. And affordable housing is a real thing, and not being able to walk somewhere is a real thing, and not having access to services is a real thing. And I like to play Cities Skylines to escape. I like to create the world as I would want to see it. I like to create places that in today's reality would be horrendously expensive to live, but in Cities Skylines 1, I was always able to imagine that the houses were affordable, because that wasn't really tied into the game at all. I could create a very walkable neighborhood where you could get to everything in 15 minutes with lots of public transportation and parks and access. And yeah, the land value would be high, but the Sims wouldn't move out. They loved living there, and I could imagine that the houses were affordable. I would say, okay, I'm going to build this, and all of my housing is going to be affordable, in building my dream imaginary city in that way. The thing with Cities Skylines 2 that I was actually really excited about, from how things were explained in the dev diaries, is that it was really tied to citizen happiness, and that I would actually be able to see in a whole new way if the concept of the 15-minute city, if the whole idea of creating walkable, accessible places would actually then translate to actually having a good city. Unfortunately, as we all know, the simulation really isn't working that way, at least not the way that I thought it would from the dev diaries. And so I started to run into that problem with my third video. Is I had created this place that was like pretty amazing to live because of the accessibility and walkability, but no one could afford to live there, and I had an affordable housing crisis anyways. So like, I think the fact that I like to use urban planning concepts, the fact that I like to focus on citizen happiness, I like to focus on accessibility and walkability, right now just doesn't lend me to being able to play in Cities Skylines 2 the way I would want to, with the creativity that I want to, meaning like I want to decide, like with the historical building, like I want this building to stay here in the way that it looks, I want this building, and then there's no way in Cities Skylines 2 to like build a small town or a small area. The assets are just so large, and there's no way to like say I want this building to stay like this, and so that just becomes an issue for me personally. On the other side of things, outside of like me wanting to create places that I wish society was like now, is detailing. And I do feel, and I said this on the podcast that I'll link below, is I do feel like those of us who, and they're like, I would consider myself a casual detailer. I'm not a micro detailer. If you look at, let's say, someone like Few Candy, who just, her builds are so finely detailed, like where the garbage can goes, where the bench goes. And I like to do those things, but not at that level. I'm like kind of a more casual detailer. But it's like one of the things I enjoy doing the most. And I especially love landscaping. I'm really into creating parks and like green belts. Like that's my thing. I love designing a park. And for those of you who maybe are new to me or don't know this about me, is I'm actually related to Frederick Law Olmsted, who designed Central Park, and he actually created the whole concept, the whole idea of landscaping. So it's also something I've been very aware with in my family history, and something I've always enjoyed learning about. And so when I started playing Cities Skylines, I, just really sunk my teeth into like park design. And so you'll see on my channel, there is an abundance of parks and green belts, and that's why. So I really like that. So detailing and building parks. And I love building, I don't know, you guys maybe have seen my one tile park, and like these big extravagant builds that are like these, like the thing I did that was kind of like Dubai inspired. Like even what you're looking at now, this is actually a build that I built for in my city, and it was like the Colossal Order headquarters. That was such a special build. I love that. But so I like to create in a way that we can't in Cities Skylines too, just because of the lack. There's no props. I'm sure you guys already know this. It's like a broken record. If I'm designing a park, if I'm landscaping, I want to be able to see what the tree looks like full grown, so I know where I want to place it, and if I even want that specific tree. And so the whole mechanic of the baby tree growing up, it's cute for a minute, but it's just not great when you are a creator trying to make a video and then you're having to wait for those trees to grow to then see if that's the right tree. It's just not feasible. And for those of us that like to play in that way, that really our enjoyment is in the details and being able to create something that's uniquely our own, Cities Skylines 2 just doesn't do it for us because like I said, everyone's city is just looking the same. And I think the thing I was so excited about with Cities Skylines 2 is if you look at all the buildings, they are so beautifully propped out. Whoever did those, kudos. They are definitely a fan of detailing. They detailed those buildings. They propped out those buildings in the way that I think any like detailer would want them detailed. Like everything's thought of, the different entrances, the parking, the garbage cans, the benches, like they're so well done, but then we don't have any of those props, which is just, it feels like to me that they forgot about the detailers, that they forgot about the people who play to create something unique and different. And it feels like the game was just really about city management, which is fine. But I think there wasn't clear communication about like, and then if that's the case, then maybe it shouldn't have been called Cities Skylines 2, in my opinion, because so much of what, at least me personally, I can't speak for like the community as a whole, but for me personally, what I love about the game is the availability to, you know, you have so many different paths to choose from and bushes and plants just in the base game. And then you add all the DLCs and you have so much more stuff. And then you get to dive into the workshop, forget about it. So like, even for me, from a detailing perspective, if I took Cities Skylines 1 with no DLCs next to Cities Skylines 2, I could create something uniquely mine in Cities Skylines 1. That would be mine. I could make it my own. I could do something cool like this beach build, right? Like these are the things I like to do. And in Cities Skylines 2, I'm really limited to drawing a cool road layout. And the road tools are phenomenal in Cities Skylines 2. They're the only thing I'm going to miss at this point, to be honest. Like they're out of this world. But I'm not going to miss anything else. And I know for some, Cities Skylines 1 looks cartoonish, but I actually love it. I think it looks whimsical. It's so colorful. I like all the quirks of the game that we've just kind of accepted. You know, I'm obsessed with Cities Skylines 1. For me, I already have everything that I would want out of a city builder. I already have the perfect city builder. So, I'm overjoyed. I'm joyful. This is what I like doing. This is the game I like playing. It helps with my anxiety and it lets me be creative and it lets me do everything I want to do. And until Cities Skylines 2 has prop and detailing option and allows you to create places that are actually walkable, accessible, have all the services and not have the homes be so unaffordable, the game just won't be joyful for me, because those are the things that are important to me personally. And I think every single player or creator has the things that they really love about Cities Skylines 1 that they wanted to see in Cities Skylines 2. And some people got all the things that they wanted, and some people are loving the game, and that's great. But some of us are like pretty disappointed, and you know, I think rightfully so. So anyways, and this has all been said. I'm not trying to pile on or say something that's unhelpful or unproductive or whatever. Like, I love the Cities Skylines community, and I'm sure the devs are working very hard, and I have empathy. I can't imagine that it is easy to hear criticism or backlash when you've worked on something for so long. So, you know, I can appreciate that is difficult and challenging, and we should all practice kindness, and we can all be critical and be kind at the same time. At least for me, I think that's completely possible. So yeah, I guess all that's to say is I'm obsessed with Cities Skylines 1. I'm going to play Cities Skylines 1. I have a build that I started right before I took a break called Cider River. It's my first time doing a sandbox build, and I am having so much fun with it. And I think it's going to take me 2 years to actually finish that city. And spoiler, we're also going to go back to Fairstead, my very first city I ever did, because there are some things in there that we need to do to like actually complete that series. And then I think I want to start a like completely vanilla build. And start something new. I'm so inspired by Verde Beach, by Pavilion, by these other great vanilla builds that have been so inspiring in our community. So I think alongside of my sandbox, it would be really fun to do a vanilla build. So that's kind of my plan for this year. I'm just gonna let Cities Skylines 2 marinate and grow and mature, and at some point I may go to it, but I think until, for me, it has the ability to really create something that doesn't look like everyone else's, and that I can play in the way that is important to me and that brings me joy, I think I'll just pass for now. And yeah, so I hope those of you that are here with me are here for just a Cities Skylines 1 channel, because that's what I'm going to be. There are a few videos I already had in the works with Cities Skylines 2, so I'm still debating on whether or not I'm going to do those. So you guys have to let me know if you're interested, if I've kind of already started a project, if you're interested in kind of seeing what I would do, or if you're just cool with like, just do what makes you happy, let's not fuss with that. So I haven't quite made up my mind on if I'm going to show any Cities Skylines 2 content on my channel as of now. But yeah, that's it. I think that's my whole thought process. I think I covered everything I wanted to. I hope so. I've just kind of been rambling for 30 minutes or so, but yeah, my whole point is I already have the perfect city builder, so I'm happy, I'm joyful, I'm satisfied, and yeah, I'm excited for the future of the genre and what comes, whether that comes from Cities Skylines 2 or whether that comes from a new game that comes up. Like, I love city building. And yeah, I think we can only, knock on wood, I think we can only go up from here, hopefully, and especially as a community. Like, we are all in charge of the community. We are in charge of the vibe of our community. We all are in charge of how we treat each other as a community, how we communicate, and we all get to decide how to operate during this time. And I think the community on a whole is justified in feeling let down, disappointed, and frustrated, and frankly, like, not really heard, or at least, acknowledged at this point of me recording this. That could change tomorrow. An apology could come out, like, who knows, and then that's fine, so we'll see what happens. I think for me, I'm going to stay positive, I'm going to stay joyful, and I hope that you guys are down for still enjoying Cities Skylines 1, because I'm obsessed with this game. I think about it all the time. I wake up excited to play, and that's how you should feel. A game should make you excited. Anyways, I'll be posting every week my live stream schedule. If you want to catch me for a live, come chat with me, that's fine. Again, the podcast that I did with a bunch of other creators on the release of Cities Skylines 1 is linked down below, along with our Discord. So come join us there and give this video a like if you enjoyed this. And I hope you all have a joyful day, and I'll catch you next time.